We are opening the Newbury Media Committee meeting,
Okay.
and Chairman Joe McDonough is here. I suppose I should be more formal. Chairman Joseph McDonough is here.
I'm
Only my
Susan
grandmother
Rice.
calls me that.
Joseph. Susan Noyes.
Susan Noyes.
Member of the committee and also do IT for the town.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm Jane Lyman, representing Comcast.
Thank you
Nice
for
to
coming,
see you all.
Jane.
Robin Williams, member of the meeting committee.
And I'm Paul Dowitz, member of the committee.
Very good.
And we have who on the phone?
And we have Alicia Greco, select person and liaison from the Board of Selectmen to the committee. Okay. So do we want to accept the minutes for the last meeting? I think
Sure.
we've all had a chance to take a look at them. Is
I'll make a motion.
to
that we
accept,
the minutes.
and
I'll second.
you seconded, is there any discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Now, you were working on the prior months or prior
Yes,
meetings
and
as
I
well?
did amend them. We approved them as amended last week, and so would you like to approve them again? I don't know that it's necessary. They have been amended and they'll be online.
Okay.
so Jane, thank you again for coming.
Well,
I suppose this may not be a long meeting, so I hope, you probably drove a long way just to say hello, but we're responding to your letter, or the letter from Comcast, which originally I think came from maybe Tim Bernane, but you're the representative.
right.
Which went to the selectmen, saying we're interested in renewing our contract, and that's up on May 10th of 2019. And the selectmen have turned over to the Media Advisory Committee, and essentially what they did 8 years ago now, or 10 years ago, on the prior contract, they've asked the Media Committee to have discussions with Comcast and to work out what we want to do for the new contract, and then to make a recommendation to them. I think our general plan is that we'll do some ascertainment, and we're doing that now. We're pretty well completed getting any problems, comments, opinions from town officials, town officers, department heads. We're in the process of getting any comments from the general public. We have a kind of a short questionnaire, and putting that together, and then I'd say we are most likely to as we start to proceed, have a public hearing, so that any of the public can show up and talk about what problems in the past or what they're interested in the future, and I know we have a kind of an education job to do that says the cable contract is really distinct from anything that happens with internet and data, and I'm sure you can break down where that line is and talk about those differences with other people, and then after public hearing and maybe more discussions with you, depending kind of upon what needs are and where we feel we're going, we'll make a recommendation to the selectmen. The selectmen will have another public hearing, and hopefully by that point we've kind of listened to and heard from the public, so there shouldn't be anything of a big surprise then. But that's, I think, under the cable rules, under their rules, we need to have another final public hearing, And I think we can get all that done before May 10th of 2019.
I suspect you will.
So I guess kind of to open things up, maybe you can tell us kind of what, you know, how you'd like to proceed, and, you know, from Comcast's point of view, and maybe also give us a sense of, if we get ahead of ourselves, which I think we can, you know, is there any interest, or are we looking at maybe doing and signing this and wrapping it up sooner than that? Is that a goal that would be nice to shoot for?
Just focusing on that last point first, it would be a very worthwhile and worthy goal to, quote, get everything wrapped up before the expiration of the current license. Let's say that were to happen in 1 year, and everybody agreed that what the renewal will look like, and the selectmen might be ready to sign. Still, that would be great, but it would not change the term of the renewal license. It still will go. But that said, it's a lot easier and more fun for everyone involved if, when there is an early start like this, and this is an early start, I give you all credit, I really do, and to make sure that we do get it wrapped up in time. Especially, well, May isn't quite as tricky as an early September expiration where you have people completely out of commission for the summer before. But yes, there's the cable television license is one, as with the licenses that my company and other operators have throughout Massachusetts with each community. It is a license for the provision of cable television service. Now, as I think everybody knows, you mentioned we also happen to have a system in place that supports broadband and voice, and we have a couple of other services, including Xfinity Home, and we've just recently launched Xfinity Mobile, which is, by the way, an interesting hybrid of 4G LTE and then jumping onto Wi-Fi hotspots, so it has the effect of reducing data use, cellular data. We've been, you know, I've been with this company, with my company, for over several iterations, beginning with Continental Cablevision 31 years ago. I've seen a lot, both in terms of ownership and the evolution of products and technology. But still, it's a pretty straightforward, and you know, the regs are all there, both with the state and with the FCC, certainly local bylaws. So the renewal license, I expect, will look a whole lot like this one, because really what this includes is a lot of, for lack of a better term, boilerplate language reflecting state, federal, local. And it's primarily Article 6, which is public educational and government access, that gets at least the most customized typically per community. But that said, I am my company's representative, and I will continue to be, and I will be happy to meet with you all whenever you are ready to see me, and to, for whatever reason, assuming a quick phone call won't do the trick, but
Okay.
my office is only in Beverly. It's a pretty drive up here, so I'm happy to have made the trip.
Okay. Let me just be sure our technology is working. Alicia, are you able to hear okay?
Yes, I can.
Good.
Thank you.
While I think of it, I'm gonna ask Jane a question that you asked me and I didn't have a good answer for. So I'm gonna throw it to Jane to see if she can come back with us with an answer. The town gets a report, I believe, quarterly about what the payment will be to support PEG access. and, the present contract allows for 4%. Could you break down, or could you have, maybe one of your, the financial geniuses at Comcast, give us an explanation of how you reach the 4%?
Quarterly statements for the in payment of the franchise fee
Yes,
are certainly developed, and we send them electronically to towns. It's so that quarterly statement should be landing in someone's inbox.
and they do.
I'm happy
They
to,
do.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're looking for a
How you
little
get
bit,
to that what is
Okay.
made up of that 4%, I guess.
okay,
Am I hearing that right?
Yes,
yeah.
and I think there's
You, oh,
a calculation that probably exists somewhere of, this is how we determine what gross revenue is.
mhm.
And then this is, and then this is, how we take out, 4%, just I suspect that it's either a computer program or someone with green eye shades that does this for.
Ma'am, quickly,
You may.
I should have,
And
I
it does
was
start
trying to go by
with,
my office this morning.
let's start with number of subscribers, right? So,
Okay.
right, is that correct?
Well,
So-
certainly the number of subscribers who are paying that quarterly
Exactly.
franchise fee,
Yeah.
that goes into,
Yeah.
they are the basis of
Yeah,
revenues.
Exactly.
Right.
So do we know how many that is?
And so I'm throwing out this question,
Okay.
knowing that this probably has maybe a plain English answer that's in the franchise, but, if the financial calculations could be broken down for us and for the selectmen, and you could get
Sure.
back to us with that would be appreciated,
Yes, absolutely, I'd be happy
okay?
to do that.
And then a subset of that question is,
Okay,
what would be the amount and the impact if we raise the franchise fee to the, I believe the maximum amount allowed by law, which is 5%.
that's right.
So, so I guess phrasing the question another way is, what does, how much would the town gain with the additional 1%? And then, I suppose it'll be a matter of discussion, how does Comcast feel about that?
It is a matter of discussion. The goal is, the guideline from the DTC is to determine the future, or ascertain rather, the future cable-related needs of, in this case, the town of Newbury. And to meet those needs, but based on given a reasonable cost or expense, because these obviously do get passed through to customers.
Sure.
Rough math, it would be 125% of what it is now.
Okay.
Right, and now, but when I remind myself of, we call this the franchise, and I'm sorry, that's the FRC, that's separate, sorry. When I take a look at the statement, I'm happy to take a stab at the math, it's probably pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Um,
And we're kind of in a chicken and egg situation that, we know that there are things that we can do with additional money, especially where hopefully around the time of the renewal, they'll also be moving into a new facility for the town hall. These are temporary facilities.
Right.
So I think we're gonna attempt to be sure that we plan for, especially government meetings, that we're able to do them properly at the new renovated, town office facilities.
mhm.
So,
Where will that be, Joe? Do we
It'll-
know?
it'll-
Back
It's no?
back where
Oh,
Where you
okay,
were this
good.
morning.
Yeah, very nice young officer. Sent me
So,
over here.
I guess we need to know the amount of money that would likely to be, and I realize we're looking ahead a few years, but assuming that the franchise fee won't change that much in a couple years, that'll give us an idea of, oh, we have, you know, X thousand dollars, and then you know, we need to do our homework to figure out what we need to do to adequately do government program and you know, the
Public and
the
education.
P and the E and the G
Up north,
with,
south.
with a big move and a new facility kind of looming over us, that's, you know, that will, this may help to be part of a budget calculation on how we plan for, you know, government meetings that are, you know, good quality and easy to handle. So the, yeah, so the additional, is it reasonable to expect that we won't see a big change in 2 years? Do you have any sense of that?
I think until, I think the development and the launch of our X1 operating system, I don't know if everyone in here is familiar with it. It includes the talking remote, for instance, and it's cloud-based, and it is a very advanced, sophisticated, user-friendly interface with your television, provided by cable television. You know, it's not an internet service per se, it is augmented by it. But we've been gaining, you know, cable subscribers in the past few years. And so whereas at some point people were saying, you know, cord cutting, that's actually not necessarily the case. At least that's not. So it's impossible to project. I'm sure there are folks whose job it is at my company to do that, but the best thing we can do is just be optimistic that the subscriber numbers will remain relatively steady, and that we'll continue to provide programming that's, you know, of value.
Okay. You know, and I suppose with any time you're budgeting a couple of years in the future, there's a certain amount of looking at a crystal ball and maybe, you know, it behooves us to work on the conservative side to, you know, to be sure that we can, you know, afford what we need to do.
And of course, you might have asked about for subscriber numbers, as of the end of 2016, and this was reflected, should have been reflected in a check that was delivered to the town in March, which is the annual quotes town payment. As of the end of last calendar year, we had 2,554 subscribers.
Which is a high percentage of the town.
Is it? I know
How many
that's.
households versus population?
Pardon me?
How many households are in your?
Last number I had was 2,650. Like I'm on Plum Island, we have a lot of
Units.
multi-unit housing.
Right.
People rent rooms. The Airbnb we were there long before Airbnb. We've had some citizens, senior citizens, which I want to ask about whether they could get a senior discount. And I did some research, and the company is doing that for communities. Boston is one of them.
Boston, let's talk about the other 280 urban communities. We have for many years and continue to provide senior discounts in certain communities, not in all communities. But in every case, I don't think there are any holdovers from the 60s or whatever, but in every case it's a needs-based discount. It's not simply by dint of the year you were born. So it's the criteria, and this, by the way, is separate from the renewal license. We don't, the town does not regulate rates, and you won't see any language about rates per se in here. But still, you know, it's not unusual for us to have a side letter to the renewal license that describes the criteria for a senior, a needs-based senior discount. And it primarily includes folks who are 65 or older and head of household, and who qualify for SSI or Medicaid. But again, I think it's important to use that phrase, needs-based, when talking about the discount, because otherwise it's a different deal.
How about, veterans?
No.
No. I know Donnie would want to ask that question, so.
And also, I mean, just so I think everybody is clear, rates are something that specifically by federal law, municipalities can't regulate the rate charge.
In Massachusetts, rates are regulated by the DTC.
Okay.
And that includes what is charged for the basic tier of service, sometimes referred to not by us as Lifeline. In other words, it's the lowest tier of service. And also what is charged for equipment, for instance, converter boxes.
Okay.
But beyond that, what is charged for HBO, for instance, is not regulated. That's where we regulate ourselves.
One of the issues that we may work with is to try to find better and easier ways for Triton to be able to communicate.
Triton is our regional school system.
And actually, I'm finding they're kind of open to, you know, to finding solutions to, you know, for ways to reach all three communities. Is there any thought given to being able to find a channel number that all three communities could use for as a Triton channel? And understanding that you know, we understand that, you know, that P, E, and G, you know, there are, you know, there'd be three channels to that, and you know, and we haven't reached any conclusions on this, but we're trying to figure out how to accommodate a number of needs that we may see about shifting the education channel to another number somewhere else on the carriage, and have the other communities take that same number, so that Triton can say, if you want to watch Triton activities, you can watch, I don't know, channel 86 or something.
Right.
But education is broader than that too, so we wouldn't
Right,
necessarily
and then I just kind of,
populate the whole channel with that.
just kind of narrowing it down to that, you know, to that specific issue.
There are, right now, it's Rowley and Newbury and Salisbury. Those are the three communities.
Yes.
As it happens, both Rowley and Newbury are fed off of, these two towns get their channel lineup from our head end facility in Newburyport, on Hale Street in Newburyport. Salisbury, and so there are three channels that have been identified. And as a matter of fact, Newburyport and West Newbury also have those three channels that are available for their respective programming. Where you have a regional channel, of course, you would want that regional, in this case, Ed Access channel, to go on one of those, so that, let's say it's on 8, it's viewable on 8 in both Newbury and Rowley. Salisbury is fed from a different head end, and there may well be different channels that have been identified and are dedicated to carrying PEG programming for all the communities that it serves. And again, occasionally you have shared channels or, regional high school, for instance. But I'm going to be very careful here because how the channel numbers are assigned and allotted are really up to, it's a big, complex organism that determines that. And so, where I can see that would be ideal, to actually change the channels that Salisbury sees its PEG programming on might also change what every other community. So it would be a major undertaking and maybe not met with such great. Yeah.
So, are you saying if you changed, one channel, it would affect if you change the E, the education, it would?
Well, as far as we are concerned, they're PEG channels. In other words,
And how we
a
allocate.
community has 2 PEG channels, and the community can determine, let's say it's 8 and 10. Newbury is welcome to put public on 8 and government on 10, or government on 8 and public on 10. That's up to the town, how the town programs the channels. So we don't feel, just because there are 3 dedicated channel numbers out of the Newburyport head end, for instance, that just means that PEG programming will be on those 3 channels in the communities that are served out of that head end, but it doesn't have to be educational. Yeah,
Right.
10 in all towns does not have to be educational, for instance.
So Rowley and Newbury, for instance, what you're saying is, if I'm hearing you correctly, have the same channel number?
Numbers available for
Right.
PEG programming.
Right. Yep.
But 10 in Newbury might have government on it, whereas
Right.
10 in Rowley
Yep.
might have education on
Right.
it.
That could be solved though between the 2 towns, I suppose.
If you, yeah, sure, it's certainly worth discussing. But where there is a region, in this case, a regional, the Triton, channel, we would obviously understand and work to just simply put that out, put the Triton programming on a single channel, the same channel there.
Okay. And for the surrounding communities, do most of them have a separate channel for P, E, and G?
Not necessarily. It's really a whole mix of things. I live on Cape Ann, and if I look at their guide, I can see that typically Board of Selectmen, it's Cape Ann TV serves 4 communities. Typically, one of the 3 channels they have does have selection or city council meetings on it from Cape Ann. But that doesn't mean they won't appear. They have not said, this is the Cape Ann Education or Public and Government. They kind of mush each one. They don't even give them names. It's just CATV 1 or CATV 2. So, but other communities have just 2 channels, and rather than 3. So you're going to have 1 channel at least have both P and E, or so it's we don't say please only program educational, for instance,
On that channel.
Yeah.
Right.
it's really up to the community.
Is it up to the community to also say, would like to have a distinct channel for each, P, E, and G?
That's up to you. It's how you program it and what you call
Okay.
it. Yeah.
We have 2 channels now.
Yes.
If we came to the conclusion, and I'm not saying we have, this is just things that we may need to discuss and get the ascertainment, that we wanna have a distinct channel for government access,
Mhm.
education access, and public access.
Mhm.
You don't need to answer now, you could think about it, but does that have, does that have a big impact on Comcast?
Well, the channels are there and dedicated, and Newburyport happens to program all three. They have 3 PEG channels per their license, and they do program, but actually they're launching soon a 3rd channel, sorry, I knew that.
Who is, I'm sorry?
Newburyport,
Newburyport.
Fort Meade.
Yeah, they just moved.
Yeah, to this new senior center. In all my years, and I've told you how long I've been here, I've made some observations about the way access is managed and programming 3 full-time pay channels is,
A lot of content.
it's a big job. It's a big job.
You don't fill it.
And also, and this is the other thing, I think that even if somebody were to say, okay, well, we'll be sure to have a sports game and the school committee meeting, you know, on this channel at least once a week, and then we'll have other people like to know that if they go to 2 to 10, it's going to be not necessarily all things Newbury, but that they don't have to search around and try to figure out what kind of programming is on, you know, what they're going to find. And it's more money. I mean, it's more resources, higher cost, and not necessarily easier or more customer friendly, viewer friendly.
Good feedback.
Does Comcast have the ability to measure or determine how many subscribers are watching our
No,
PEG access channel?
no. I'm not going to suggest that you can't do almost anything from a technical perspective, but we don't do that. No, I don't know how else
I
to
mean,
put
it
it.
certainly help us, you know, probably everybody, you know, with
Yeah,
their
we
PEG access
don't.
channels, to know,
Who's watching?
is anybody out there, you know?
Misspell something and you'll hear.
Exactly, do something wrong.
Don't mark your ball the right way in a golf tournament.
No, we don't, we wouldn't be in a position to try to figure that out or provide that.
Is it not being done anywhere within?
Not that I'm aware
Comcast?
of, not that I'm aware of, no. And I'm even saying that almost nothing, there's almost nothing that can't be done, I imagine. I just don't know, I don't know how you would, and then what would you do? You'd say, well, 20 people tuned to one of the PEG channels during the, I mean, yeah, it starts getting,
Complicated.
I mean, that question is on our survey. It's not, you're not gonna get the level of detail you would if you could technologically
Right,
track that,
right.
but
But
the
that-
survey should give us a
but then-
little
I
indication.
apologize.
No,
But then, I don't think anybody wants to think that somebody's tracking what they're watching.
Right,
It's one thing, I
right.
think, to be a Nielsen family and to volunteer to have that tracked, but, no.
Caleb and I have kind of poked around too to see if there's any tools such as that out there, and we've not been successful, so, just because we knew that there was an interest here.
Well, there's privacy concerns too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suspect that Comcast may have a different position when it comes to tracking data and net neutrality, but we have nothing to do with that.
It's good.
I'm just curious, like, what percentage of communities, and it's probably based on population, have 2 versus 3 channels? Are the majority of the smaller towns only running 2 channels versus 3?
In my experience, and I have a certain footprint, if you will, geographic footprint with about 50 cities and towns.
Mhm.
Other happens to be basically north and northwest of Boston, but, and I have a good number of cities in the mix, and almost all of the cities have 3 channels. At least half of the smaller communities have 2.
Yeah, I
It's-
wonder what
it's
the
much more
population threshold is for going to 3.
Yeah, because it certainly takes funding, and even at 4%, you know, there are 2,200 subs here, so 25.
Okay. Hey, Alicia?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. We're, I think we're getting close to the end of our questions. Did you have anything, you wanted to ask? We're gonna get some, some more information back just to help folks on the calculation, but I think it's, it'll be a pretty, straightforward calculation on gross.
Okay, good. I believe you covered everything. Joanna, you and I had a chat last week. I believe you covered everything in this call that you and I discussed. Was I missing anything?
I can't think of anything else.
I don't think so. I think,
And there's nothing wrong with ending on time.
no, there isn't. I mean, Paul covered the senior citizens. That was a concern, and I think that's it. The Triton stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there are some other kind of, smaller issues that have come up about drops, and there's a little bit of interest in, in INET, but, that's something that we, that are either minor issues or with INET, something we need to do more of our own homework on before we're ready to bring up.
Right. And I didn't want to interrupt Jane talking about this third channel, but it sounds to me like that's probably not an option for us, correct?
Well, I don't think so. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jane,
It's-
we're
it's-
finding about half towns, most cities have 3, about half towns have 3, and it's, I think there's a judgment that we have to make as to whether we want to take on some extra hassle of programming and cost with an additional channel.
NP.
Okay. And okay, thank you for clarifying that. And also, did you explain to her about what's going on with capital improvements with the town of Newbury and the new police station?
We did.
Okay.
We said that when we talked about the timing of the license, we're still looking at the present license expiring on May 10th, 2019.
Okay. We
Okay.
should know more by then about our
And-
capital
Right. In that
situation.
one of the reasons that we want to figure out what an extra 1% would bring is it'll give us a dollar figure to work for as we're looking for costs that are directly related to PEG access in the new facility.
Okay. Well,
And is
thank you,
that where the
Jane.
line is, when we talk about expenditures that we're doing, they need to be related to, our delivery of, public educational government access.
Correct. Not totally, some licenses have it make a if it's cable related, that's really the sort of, it's not,
Okay.
Definition.
that's the
Yeah.
guideline,
Yeah.
right.
Well, thank you for coming up, Jane, and giving us your time.
You're welcome. Look forward to seeing you in person.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm gonna hang up. You guys, do you need me anymore, or?
No, thank you for
Now, I
participating.
think we're,
You're welcome.
yeah,
God bless
okay,
technology.
yeah,
Bye, Alicia.
All right,
So-
bye.
okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What else? Any other questions?
Not at this time for me.
So we have our homework to do. A few of our members are brand new,
Okay.
and are getting up to speed. I know that, probably next month, is kind of a general, reappointment and reorganization time, for us. We're continuing to, communicate with towns around us. I mean, if you ask me, one simple thing we could do is I'd put in a favored nation clause that says, well, what are the surrounding communities get, we want to, just because it's New England and everybody, looks at what their neighbors are getting and saying, why can't I have a Porsche too?
Right,
So,
right. No, that's where the ascertainment comes in and the
Yeah.
provision of reasonable cost. And in one community, reasonable cost, there might be a higher or lower tolerance for it. And, we don't want customers, and you don't want neighbors and residents to be paying for something that's not getting actually utilized, because, yeah. So I can understand the temptation to do that, but.
You're talking the 4 to 5%.
And capital, video return lines, which is what we're now calling, what used to be called institutional network. But again, Newbury residents and what the interest in PEG is, and,
Yeah, and I think there's, and we'll get more from our entertainment. I mean, I think there's a desire for some people, to look at some of the successes that are out there.
Sure.
With community access, and Newbury really doesn't have its own local newspaper.
Right.
So there's interest in doing more than it's doing now, and fill a bit of a vacuum in terms of getting information and news that's that's independent from institutions, independent from government and
Do you have
education.
Do you have someone helping to actually manage the channels, program the channels? Is that the same fellow who?
Yeah, Caleb knows.
Yeah.
Caleb, thank you.
Yes.
Is he full-time?
He's
Or-
mid-time.
Okay.
He works up to 24 hours a week.
And when you tape something here, does it get bicycled back to the police station, where it gets
It goes
inserted
back to the
into?
Old Town Hall right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's where you have play, so that's where you program the two
Yeah.
channels from,
Mhm.
including Triton?
No,
No?
well, we get some of their programming from them
Yeah,
and then load it up.
so it goes on to one of the two channels.
Right.
Yeah, they're 8 and we're
Because
6.
there's-
Okay. So,
Eight is an education channel.
okay,
There's not much on there that doesn't originate with Triton,
but not,
but it's not meant to be an
It's not hard linked.
exclusive Triton, and they are not hardwired to be able to do it directly.
well, actually they are,
Uh,
yes,
Okay.
yes. That was part of and it's in this license.
I thought they
Where
were
we
part of
agreed,
it from the internet.
we
Okay.
agreed to construct a fiber link from Triton back to our Newburyport head end, because the thinking when we were negotiating this
Mhm.
license was that there was a need and a desire,
Yeah,
an enthusiasm to operate a Triton regional channel. And so we did construct a link, but then, I don't understand all of what happened or didn't, but the decision was made, about a year and a half or so ago, to program that channel out of the Old Town Hall rather than directly out of Triton.
Yeah,
Is that so that the town could oversee whatever was put out?
It was actually, I think, to simply take advantage of the fact that the Triton probably did have some programming that it could generate, but it didn't necessarily have, as I understand it,
They didn't have a Caleb Noble to
yeah.
manage it.
Well, more than likely, the media committee probably did want some oversight to that, I would think. I mean, I wasn't part of the organization then, but
But
They
in this, it
probably-
was
yeah.
envisioned that there would be
that
a
ability.
Triton
Yeah.
regional channel that would be managed by
Triton.
Triton, and which would originate from the Triton campus. And there is a link now that was constructed pursuant to this license, at the same time that, or initially the link to Town Hall, was constructed, and that's when you first started programming your own Newbury channel. So there are two links that were constructed.
Okay, you know, I guess I was under the misimpression that the reason that it wasn't being done directly was more about technology and the hard line than it was about the practical use,
Practical management,
management.
I think that was a $15,000 investment.
just about, yeah, as I recall. Just that one link, the Triton
Right.
link.
So that channel 8, or is it necessarily specific to 8 or not necessarily? It is currently, or
Well, again, the town
can decide.
has to, exactly,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
whatever you put it on, that's what.
But the 8 could, as it is now, be run out of Triton or the town, but it's currently being run.
It could, they would
Yeah.
need to get transmission gear and playback gear, and, you know, it requires investment in
Oh.
equipment. It's, I mean, the link is a
The link is
critical part of it, but you
established,
also
yeah.
have to have the end user equipment, meaning at, in this case, Triton.
Okay, well, that's something, I guess, you know, I guess we can, I thought Caleb was gonna be available today, but we'll be sure he comes to the next meeting so we can kind of
Well, he teaches-
flush that out.
He was teaching today.
Okay, any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Final words of
We'll
wisdom?
try to be smart enough to bring more than just 2 cards next time. I apologize. If I could hand one of those down to Joe, if Joe needs one.
Thanks.
And then I don't,
Copy that.
okay. But one of the reasons that I was reminded to hand that out is because if any of you has a question, if you've been asked to research something and you want to just give me a call, I'm happy to help you out in any way I can.
I have your email.
Yep, don't hesitate to email me.
Okay.
Thank you very much for
You're welcome.
coming and visiting with us.
You are welcome.
We look forward to
Nice to
continuing
be
to work with
finally
you.
actually in one of these buildings. I've driven around here as it's over the past several years.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So